Hey folks, good morning. I'm Garen Carlin, Moss's Creek Outdoors. I'm just sitting outside this morning and trying to enjoy the shade once again before I get busy out here. I've got about 2.5 or 3 acres of grass out here to mow. I'm just sitting around right now waiting on the morning dew to get off of it. I mean, it's dry, but as soon as this dew gets off, I'll have to get out here and start spinning around on that big X mark. But I'll tell you a little something that I do. Uh, instead of weed eating after I mow or whatever, I like the liquid weed eater pretty good. I've got a big sprayer. I've got a big sprayer on the back of my 4-wheeler, and there's a long ditch all the way up the road in front of my house. And that ditch is too deep. Can't get off in it with a lawnmower. You either if it's too wet, you get stuck, or otherwise, you can turn over in part of it if you was to try to get off in it. So I just spray the whole thing, kill it, forget about it. And then there's 2 people further on down the road that saw where I sprayed, and they thought that the county highway department had been out here and killed the whole ditch in the side of the road, and they started getting me to go down across and kill their stuff as far as their ditches on the side of the road. So I got about 1/4 of a mile down the road. The whole ditch is deader than I don't know what down through there. But I like rather do that than to stand out there when it's 100 degrees or more and be trying to swing a weed eater on them ditch banks. But sitting out here having a smoke this morning on another interesting pipe that I just got in. This is I'm kind of unsure of the brand. It looks like it might possibly be a gray bow to me. All I know is it's a vintage bulldog, called a bulldog, I guess, because of this short tip up here. We're smoking a bulldog along with some Sir Walter Riley this time. Like I said on the last previous video, the Sir Walter Riley, really mild, really smooth. It's got like a kind of a little sweet candy kind of taste right on the end of each draw, just right on the tip of each one of the draws. It's got kind of a little sweet, like a little fruity taste. What else I'm going to talk about here is I talked about the Civil War sniper Jack Henson in the last previous video. His rifle was indeed a 50 caliber, and of course I'd already knew that. I just hadn't discussed Henson in a while, and I couldn't remember. But I also meant to have the Jack Henson belt buckle made by a friend of mine, a very extremely close friend of mine that I didn't have in the last video. This is the Henson buckle. Hope you can see that. It was made by my buddy Dale O'Gwen with Annandale Lodge. That's that same artwork like is on the front of that Jack Henson book. Henson propped up there on that tree, aiming down to that boat, on that river boat on the Tennessee River there. But he made a lot of these buckles. Jack Henson one-man war, 1862 to 1865, Civil War sniper. But that was one of my favorite buckles out of all the different thousands of buckles that he done. That's one of my favorites. And of course, here's one, the same identical size, same identical buckle to say. But this one is the Battle of Davis Bridge. Battle of Davis Bridge, October the 5th, 1862. Here's another one he done. Haven on the Hatchie, Pocahontas, Tennessee. Pretty buckle. Got an Indian in a canoe there on it. Here's another buckle that's pretty much identical to the Henson buckle or the others. This is Battle of Shiloh, April the 6th and 7th, 1862. Here's another buckle close to the same size, or is the same size. The rebel flag got the 2 fighting turkeys on it. I always thought that was kind of one of my favorites. I always really kind of leaned toward that buckle. I always really liked it. Those 2 turkeys fighting on there. And here's a round one that he done. American Rifleman, but he had no telling how many different ones. You know, he had I think American muzzleloader or something, and then he had another one that was like American shotgunner or something like that. Here's the Jack Daniels buckle. Jack Daniels whiskey. And of course, here's a paperweight with Dale's logo on there that I pop up at the beginning of nearly all my videos. That's a paperweight. But I'm gonna tell a little story about Felix Johnson Taylor in regards to smoking a pipe. Felix Johnson Taylor, he was born here in the southwestern part of the county. As far as I know, he was, best I know, wherever here, he's born here in the southwestern part of McNairy County in 1877. Felix was my granddaddy's grandpa. And of course, he always smoked a pipe. He sat on the front porch for many years, and he just smoked a pipe. Sat there all day and, you know, watch for mice and snakes and rabbits and whatever else it might be to run across, looking up his long driveway. But he sat there and smoked that pipe. Remember hearing stories about Felix taking fresh tobacco, like fresh grown tobacco, and curing it, and rolling those leaves up, putting them in a shoebox, and storing them up under the bed and different places. People always gave him cigars and pipes and different stuff like that at Christmas and other occasions as gifts. But Felix, he kind of had a trade for several different things. He was, I don't know, kind of like a justice of the peace or something like that. And then just, I don't know, kind of like a doctor also. He delivered no telling how many kids way back in the early part of the family many years ago. And there used to be a little country grocery store. I believe it was exactly 1 mile kind of east or southeast of the house, back up the road. I used to walk up there, and including my granddaddy's mother and some other people, and they used to buy some, I believe it was like some grape soda and some ice cream, and they'd walk a mile to go up there and get it and walk back home and make a what they called a float. But it was a little store named Odell Moore's store. I remember hearing tales about the old parking lot around the store was just about plumb covered up with bottle caps. People come by, you know, and get a bottle drink. They'd pop that lid off outside, and of course all the lids from all the people from over the years, you know, were scattered around over the parking lot there. But the store's too far gone. I never even got to see a picture of it, and it's just kind of amazing. As I researched and asked questions and talked to different people, the people just didn't make pictures of a lot of stuff back then, or whoever might have, or whatever. I guess the pictures, you know, just got lost or something. But there's a lot of stuff in the area of the country where I grew up that I've heard about for many years and never got to see a picture of it or anything. Heard a lot of stories and tales about it, as far as people talking about going to Odell Moore's store. People from all over the country used to go there and get a lot of stuff. He even sold, you know, old 22 bullets and stuff like that. People squirrel hunting and stop and buy them some bullets, or just whatever they might need. You know, back years ago, there was several of them old country stores around. There was another one that was west of where I grew up. It was Bernie Kirk's store. And Bernie's wife, Velma, she was my granddaddy's aunt. It's one of my granddaddy's daddy's sisters. And I remember hearing my grandparents talk about they used to go to Bernie Kirk's store all the time, you know, get a Coke and peanuts and candy bar. And an uncle of mine talked about, you know, getting, I think, a RC or something like that, and Babe Ruth. I believe that was a candy bar, a Babe Ruth candy bar. But and what's amazing about those little stores is, back in the day and time, to be so small, I mean, they had just about anything that you needed, as far as the items that you know really need, like from day to day. You know, they had just about anything, any of the stuff that you really needed, you know, like to get by. But Uncle of mine told me at Bernie Kirk's store, he even had a thing back around behind the old store building that you could pull your car up on, you know, and drain your oil. And then he sold new oil and stuff, you know, and you could change your oil and all that while you was there, and, you know, buy your new oil and everything. But and then there was another store up the road from Bernie Kirk's on that side of the county over there. It was, I believe they called it Bedford Gooch's old store. I remember hearing people talk about stopping at Bedford Gooch's and getting a lot of stuff over the years. But just a lot of stories, and back there in the good old times. Another little thing I was going to hit on this morning is Robert Stanton Taylor. He was a state constable for several years, I guess. And there's an old grist mill pond on the back side of the place where I grew up there. And Robert, he drowned in that old mill pond back in 1955. And I think he had been drinking. He wandered off down there, fell into that old mill pond, drowned. Robert's brother, Lewis Taylor, waded out into the mill pond and felt around with his foot. He felt Robert's body, and he pulled up on his body, and he come floating to the top. The old story was is when Lewis saw that it was his brother dead, he almost passed out, and I heard somebody had to jump in and grab a hold of him before he drowned. But Robert was a constable, and I got a historical marker placed on the side of the road where the traffic passes there at the farm, marking the 1955 drowning side of State Constable Robert Stanton Taylor. A half a mile back up the creek from where the old grist mill was, his name was Jess Taylor, and Jess got a hold of some poison whiskey. He wasn't I don't think, but 25 years old. And the old story was is he had been back over across the Mosses Creek down there to, I guess he classified it being at a friend's house, but after I done further research, Jess had been to Eric King's house, and he was supposed to be back home by a certain time up there where his daddy lived, my granddaddy's grandpa, and he didn't show up. Well, the word got out somehow that he wasn't back home, and Eric King went looking for him. Eric King found Jess. He found Jess dead up on the off the shoulder of the road, on the ditch bank on the south side of the creek. Jess wasn't but 25. That was in 1933, and but that was the old story. Jess got a hold of some poison whiskey, and he just fell dead on the side of the road up there. But the old story was is, I suppose it was that Eric King guy. I guess it was now. I don't know for sure. Got Jess and set him up in the passenger seat of an old car, and hauled him back down there to his mother and daddy's house, close to where I grew up. And Jess, sitting up in the seat of the car, dead. And his mother had to come out of the house and see that. She had to see her boy sitting in the car dead. But you can you can go back on my channel and pull the episode up and watch it. It's titled, I believe, let's see, What Happened to Jess and Robert Taylor? That's it. What Happened to Jess and Robert Taylor? Pull that video up and watch it if you hadn't ever watched it. It's an interesting story that I talk about. I actually go to the sites or the locations where Robert and Jess died as I'm telling the story there, but very interesting. Another big story that's real big and always will be in my book. Probably about a half a mile south of there is where Mary Kirk is buried. Just one long grave off in the woods. If you hadn't ever watched the episode of the history of Mary J. Kirk, I strongly recommend you go back and watch it. But really interesting last year, how I had Mary's family to come up here and carry them over to her grave, and it was a total of 23 of us went out there. Had 5 generations of Mary's family went out there to her grave, and nobody never been out there before. There's a deer crossing the road down here. came out of a thicket out there and went running across the yard like a big doe deer. But yeah, that history of Mary J. Kirk, 1856 to 1898, is a great story and just amazing. And I'm gonna get ready to go back and have another look at her grave here pretty soon. But uh, kind of the historical area that, as far as where she's buried and all, and and she's the reason that I even really look at any cemeteries or old markers today. Is kind of my whole interest in the historical field began with the history of Mary J. Kirk. I've known of her being buried back in those woods, ever since I was a little small kid, because she was just right south of where I spent my life growing up there. And, seeing that one lone grave way back off in the woods, that was just kind of amazing to me when I was a kid. Just kind of amazing seeing that one grave by itself way back off in the woods like that. This Bulldog's a really good smoking pipe. I like it. But I'm gonna get ready to do a few things, and I just thought I'd sit down and share a few words with you before I get kind of started throughout the day here. But until next time, I'm Garen Carlin, Mosses Creek Outdoors, and I also encourage you to get outdoors. And I'll see you next time.